big shout out to a YouTuber called, I think his name is Big Loudmouth or something. I'll put his video link to the end. You'll see it on the screen. Advise you to watch it. Again, he's a guy from somewhere in the UK, and he's definitely a defender of the DC. Now, I try to be, how can I say it, fair when it comes to talking about Marvel, because it's not my thing. But there's other people out there that are proud, and which they should be, of being a fan and maybe a hater of Marvel and stuff like that. And but that's their way. They, you know, and most of the time, I sometimes feel that way. You start to hate the brand. I mean, it's happened to me. It's because of what I feel Disney has done, not only just to superhero films and genre, uh, as to say this should be the only way to make a superhero movie, but they've done it to Star Wars. They've sort of tried to turn that around, and guess what? There's rumours now that they're talking about rebooting Star Wars franchise and trying to give it a break, because I think they've just overloaded. I think they thought they could just put anything out with Star Wars in the title and that it would work, instead of actually having the right people around. But this isn't about Star Wars. If you want me to talk about Star Wars, let me know in the comments below, and I'll make a video about it. But I'm sure if you check the archives of my Star Wars rants, I'm sure I've made a few of them. I'm actually wearing a Star Wars Christmas jumper. I am your father. It's Darth Vader. It's the original one, so I'm fine by that. But I do believe there is a machine out there, and which is the sort of Disney machine where they're buying up companies. And now I just watched a documentary on Walt Disney, and I've got nothing against the guy himself that created it. He was a pioneer and everything else for that. But it's what the company sort of represents, and is making, and is right now it's got a habit of rehashing the animated movies. Right now it's doing an Aladdin, so it's not exactly bringing out something new. It's just saying it's just become this big money thing, and it's, again, Marvel is a division, and I'm sure Lucas is a division from Marvel, so they're all sort of different. But there's lots of stories about how Marvel is demanding that certain films of theirs should get an Oscar, or they should get some of a award. And I remember when Captain Marvel was told to come out, that there was a lot of hee-haw about Marvel's going to be the first superhero woman in some sort of roundabout way, um, and it was like this, it wasn't counting Wonder Woman, and it was all this sort of bias, and people turning their attention away from Wonder Woman to Captain America, to Captain Marvel, and then it's all this stuff about the special effects in this film and that film, and Black Panther should get nominated for an Oscar because of the black thing, and then Wonder Woman didn't get an Oscar. But what happened to that was they took some sort of certificate away from Wonder Woman, because she was meant to be an honorary representative for women and stuff. So they took that away because she was a fictional character. All that rubbish. And when you look at Aquaman and the special effects and that, and you can argue and you disagree with me as much as you want, but for me, thought the special effects in it was good. I loved it. I loved the sharks. I loved all the wee fishes, and a lot of people, everyone says it's it's like CFX, special effects porn really, because it was just over and it was brave. What I hate about the critics really is that it's putting down a film that is very much out there. You've got talking crabs, seahorses, sharks with lasers and stuff like that. And it's got everything in it. It's got krakens, it's got talking people under the water and everything. And you have these people that claim to think that that there should be some sort of explanation of how they can talk underwater, not just say some mystical thing in the past made them this way, made them so that they could exist and talk. And we're not interested in the science behind it. These are the same critics that said, oh, Star Wars isn't right because you shouldn't hear sound in space. We shouldn't be jumping on the bandwagon about what could be explained. We just accept that's the way they want to portray it. I mean, they would have had a complaint if they were all wearing helmets under the water and they still decide to live under there, or that, 1,000 odd depths under the sea, it must be Baltic. But and then you've got some critics saying he jumped out of a plane without a parachute. That's because he lives under the sea at so much depth that his body has become a lot stronger. Hence, he could take a good punch for Superman because his body's built to withstand that pressure. But there's no pleasing critics. They'd rather watch something like Guardians of the Galaxy where you have a stupid dance off at the end, a talking raccoon, and just a weak plot line. But that seems to be okay because that's the Marvel side of things. So we're left with fans enjoying DC, getting depressed because we're not having the critic. And believe me, I'm there. That's why I shut down the page. I'm taking a holiday from the page. I don't know if I'll ever reopen the DC page. Listen, if I had this big mouth being an editor, I would say, page is all yours, pal. Love your style. Work for it. Now, the reason why I really wanted to make this video, because I don't want to re-say what Loudmouth has done, because he's captured it. I don't know if it's called Loudmouth, right? So don't quote me on that. It might be called something else, but just check out the video at the end. But what I want to talk about, and it coincides again with DC, right, and BVS and Man of Steel, is, as you may know, I've been listening to Queen and I've been reading the magazines, and all the critics were against them and stuff. But they wanted to be, separate. They wanted to try everything. They didn't want to be pigeonholed into making the same music over and over. They get bored, and that's why some band members through life split up. They go into different bands because they want to try something different. When you live in a band, you're living inside each other's pockets, and what you want to do musically might not be what the other band members want to do. So one album, you have to do what they want, and that's how Queen worked. And Queen brings out this album I have in my car. It's called Hot Space, and it was like a funk, sort of soul, sort of disco, but it came out when sort of disco was dying. But at the same time, it was an album that I would say probably encouraged Michael Jackson to bring out his latest stuff, his funky Billie Jean and everything else. And he was a fan of Queen. He has later found a recording of him singing with Freddie Mercury. You can find it on the Queen Forever album. And And then I'm sitting there and I do what I normally do when I buy an album. I'll put it on the CD player and I'll listen to it continuously over and over again. Because most of the time when I listen to a song, I'm listening for the beat and then I'll look at the words and everything else. And there's a few catchy numbers in there. Now, I'm a fan. The only music I don't listen to really is rap and dance music. Don't get me wrong, I've maybe danced a couple of rap or dance music, but it's not something I would go out and buy. Techno music and everything else. Just not my cup of tea or whatever. But I'm listening to that and I'm enjoying the funkiness of it. And I think Freddie said it in an interview. People that were so much wanting them to play rock music, right? So I went, oh no, Queen, that does it. You've betrayed us. You were meant to be a rock band, and now you're playing disco funk. No, we're no longer a fan. And they basically lost quite a lot of America during that. Also, I want to break free because the fans were, but then again, some years later, and what Freddie says, maybe the album came too soon. Maybe it wasn't the right time for that album. Maybe if it was one of the first or the second album they made, or maybe if they were still around today and they made it now. See, it's all about timing. And this brings me back to something like BVS, where now we're suddenly thinking it's the ultimate cut. Have they brought out the ultimate cut in the first place? And now you have people loving it just now, after some time has passed, and that's it. And again, this band didn't have a good time with journalism or fans, journalists or reporters, because they would just lie about it, or critics, right? They would lie about it, and they would rather listen to what the people said. And I think I'll try and put a link to that video as well at the end of this. And it's the people that speak more than the critics, because it's the people that will show the love by buying the cinema ticket, by buying the albums or buying the cinema tickets. And this was an interview years ago, before the internet, before critics were were less noticeable, and the only time you would read about a critic score would be if you bought, say, a rock magazine or a newspaper or something that was all about that sort of genre. But most people wouldn't read those reviews, because, or picked up a paper and read a review. They would just say, well, I like that band, I'll buy the album. Or I like the look of that movie, I'll go and see the movie, without listening to critics. So it has, and as I say, in Queen, when they brought out Bohemian Rhapsody, they had critics were basically saying it was rubbish, it was crap, they've lost their way, and now it's a cult, one of the best songs ever. And that relates so much to this just now. So it doesn't, and for Queen, it didn't matter about awards. It didn't matter about, what certain people were saying. They were doing things because it was a challenge. They went to Rio, Argentina, or something like that. Nobody ever went there. No big rock group went there. They did it for the challenge. They were okay with money, so they paid for it themselves and they went there. And that sounds awful like of people of creativity like Zack Snyder, or like any decent director, like James Wan with Aquaman. He doesn't want to be put in a place where everything is comfortable. They want to be challenged and try new things, otherwise, life would be too boring. So, please check out these two links, and thank you for watching. And again, have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.